Well, that didn't take long, did it? At the very first time of asking, new Norwich City manager Johannes Thorup led his side to a league title and promotion to the Premier League, culminating in a monumental, historic 7-0 victory at home to secure the trophy in front of the home fans. So for the third time in 6 years, the city of Norwich partied all summer long. The streets were packed both after the game and at the parade, and it seemed like the parties would never end. But the celebrations do need to end at some point, and they've ended in fairly sobering fashion on the last two occasions. Norwich City being relegated immediately back down to the Championship, and that's exactly what we need to try and avoid here in Season 2 of our realistic Norwich City career mode. So let's get into it. Now, obviously, our primary objective last season was to get promoted, but we set ourselves some custom objectives at the beginning of the season too, and we actually managed to achieve them all. We only signed a handful of players to the youth academy, but both Bobby Parker and Oliver Lawson did manage to graduate and play in 5 or more games. So we have been able to upgrade one of our youth scouts to a 5-star ahead of season 2. We've also been able to make another huge upgrade to the youth academy, but we'll get into that in more detail in just a second. We set Josh Sargent the objective of scoring at least 15 goals in the Championship, and he almost doubled that tally, finishing with 28. So he will wear the captain's armband this season, and he's been rewarded with a hefty pay rise and a new crucial squad role. And in keeping with what you would likely see in real life, we've given most players a 10 to 15% pay rise since we are now in the Premier League. I am anticipating receiving offers for Sargent this summer. However, we do of course still have the gentleman's agreement trait in the core DNA skill tree. So if we are forced to accept an offer, we can at least delay until January and reevaluate the situation then. Speaking of transfer offers, we did manage to increase the value of more than 3 players by 50% or more, so we will be able to increase all valuations in the realistic selling calculator by 5%. We just about managed to win 60% of our games in the Championship, 29 out of 46 in the end, so we've unlocked an additional top player slot in the squad. Really important thing here though is we didn't fail the objective, because that would have given us a specific overall cap on players that we could target this summer. We did also manage to score goals with at least 8 different midfielders or forwards, which means we can reject all offers for the winner of Fans Player of the Year. Of course, Fans Player of the Year was Josh Sargent himself, so we do have an extra layer of protection if we do receive offers for him. Now, if you're new to the series, obviously I would advise you to go back and watch Series 1, but you're probably also wondering what I'm talking about in terms of a core DNA skill tree, a realistic selling calculator, and the like. I give a more detailed explanation in the very first episode of the series, but Buzzco's core DNA mod is essentially an online career mode companion. It allows you to hire backroom staff, to track your squad, to give yourself certain restrictions and rules in terms of scouting, in terms of your youth academy. It also gives you these realistic buying and selling calculators in order to determine a realistic value and to determine whether or not you're allowed to buy or you're forced to sell a player. And it also gives you a more realistic transfer budget with things like financial fair play, ticket revenue, merchandising, and those kinds of things taken into account. But one of the primary elements of the core DNA mod is the core DNA skill tree. So you get 7 different strands of your club to invest in: culture, operations, recruitment, employment, development, networking, and academy. And each of those strands has different traits that you are able to unlock, and those allow you to perform various actions in game that you are otherwise restricted from performing. So it's basically a fully interactive online tool that adds a little bit more of a challenge to your career mode saves and a bit more depth and immersion as well. So at the end of last season, because we had such a successful year, we received 5 additional DNA points and 3 additional trait points. However, because we invested so little, particularly in operations at the beginning of season 1, we only have about 17.5 million in our transfer budget here in season 2. So the first thing I did was invest 3 of our DNA points in the operation strands. and that's allowed us to unlock penny pinching and stadium infrastructure, each of which will help us to boost our transfer budget at the beginning of Season 3 a little more. I then invested our final 2 DNA points in maxing out the Academy strand and spent our final trait point on the special one, which guarantees a prospect of any potential joins our youth academy, and we can use that 3 times per career. So our youth academy has received a massive boost here in Season 2. Not only do we now have a 5-star scout capable of finding the best possible prospects, but we are also guaranteed to be able to sign a player regardless of their overall if we choose to use that trait. I really did intend on investing in the employment strand so we could hire a couple more members of staff, but this is the beauty of the core DNA mod. You're limited on the number of points you get. You can't just max out everything straight away. You really have to pick and choose where you invest and how you manage to kind of mold and shape your club. So we've got a lot of tough decisions to make here in episode 1 of Season 2. The first being how we want to play this season. How do we want to approach trying to survive in the Premier League? I asked you guys that exact question, and you decided the blueprint we should try and follow is that of Marcelo Bielsa's old Leeds sides. Potter's Brighton came in second and Dyche's Burnley came in third, but there are a lot of suggestions to try and combine the approaches of Bielsa's Leeds with Dyche's Burnley. So I think that's the approach we will try and take this season. We will try and replicate Dyche's Burnley sides by being robust, solid, strong, compact at the back, but then flood forward on the counter-attack and really commit players forward and try and score goals like Bielsa's Leeds sides did. So we'll focus primarily on defending first, trying to concede as few goals as possible, but we won't be shy about committing players forward to the attack because you do ultimately need to score goals to win. I think we will remain fluid this season as well, so our 4-2-3-1, our 3-4-3 that we utilised to great success last season will remain, but we'll be spending a lot more time in a 4-4-2 this year. That means Josh Sargent needs a partner up front. Ashley Barnes is obviously not going to be that. He's a 67 overall at 34 years of age, and he is retiring at the end of the season. Adam Eder had a fine year last season, but again, at 73 overall, I just don't think he's going to cut it. Some people say opposites attract, and Thorup should be pairing Sargent with a different type of striker that can complement him, but why have just one disruptive powerhouse up front when you can have 2? So in addition to Josh Sargent, Armando Broja will be terrorizing Premier League defenses this year. He is big, he is strong, he is pretty quick, and he's got great technical ability. And I think he and Sargent will be a formidable pair this year. And with Adam Eder behind them, we're going to have a triumvirate of incredible athletes up front who can cause problems for even the best defenders. Now, with only 17.5 million in the bank, we can't really afford to buy Armando Broja outright at this point in time. It would pretty much wipe out our entire transfer budget. So we've brought him in initially on a loan deal with an option to buy next season if we do remain in the Premier League. We can pick up that option for 16 million. Now, last season did, of course, see the departure of Angus Gunn, who went north to Scotland to join Celtic, and have been caught in two minds about what to do at goalkeeper this season. Jason Steer was excellent for us at times last year, and he is a capable Premier League starter, so I think he'll maintain the #1 shirt. However, we have brought in 23-year-old Marcel Lotka. The youngster was on Borussia Dortmund's books last season, but they declined to offer him a contract extension, so we picked him up just on a free, and he'll be an excellent understudy to Jason Steele this year. Steele is in the last year of his contract as well, so we will be looking for Lotka to step up this season and maybe step into a starting role next year. So the squad for Season 2 is starting to take shape, but the way I see it, there's still 2 clear areas of the squad that we can improve, one of which is centre-back. We have Callum Chambers, we have Wesley Hoyt, we have Shane Duffy on the bench, each of which are capable enough players, certainly at the Championship level, but they're likely going to be tested in the Premier League, and the same, I think, can be said for Kenny McLean. However, with the arrival of Broja and Lotka and their wages being added to the books, we are already below 15 million. One way we could raise more money for this upcoming season is by selling Johnny Rowe, who is currently our highest valued player behind Chelsea's Armando Broja at 12 million. But Rowe is a product of Norwich's youth academy. He is only 21. He still does have a lot of potential yet to fulfill. So of course our transfer policy this window will be dictated to some extent by what we do with Johnny Rowe. But at the same time, Johannes Thorup can't just sit on his hands waiting for the phone to ring, so he has gone out and signed a centre-back in the meantime. Patrick Pfeiffer arrives from Augsburg for just 5.5 million, but don't let the modest price tag fool you. He's 6'5" with incredible strength and jumping. He's just 24 years old, and he has 4 defensive play styles. If we want to be more of a threat from set pieces this year, this guy will make it happen. So Pfeiffer will fit in nicely alongside either Wesley Hoyt or Shane Duffy as a pair at the back, but he'll also be an ideal candidate to play at the centre of a 3 with Chambers and Hoyt either side of him. So with a couple of new arrivals making their way through the door here at Carrow Road, we finally see our first departure. Nottingham Forest coming in with a bid of 4 million for Christian Fasnacht. Fasnacht struggled to make an impact on the team last season, and he'd struggle again for playing time this year if Johnny Rowe does stay. Fasnacht's departure has also paved the way for another new addition though, Nottingham Forest agreeing to send Lewis O'Brien back our way. An absolute workhorse in the centre of midfield. O'Brien will be the ideal partner to Marcelino Nunez, doing all the dirty work of breaking up the play and disrupting opposition passing lanes, allowing Nunez himself to get on the ball a little bit more. O'Brien should also provide some excellent defensive cover in front of the back four. Well, I would say our starting 11 for next season is pretty much set. However, with only 2 true fullbacks in the side in Marius Wolf and Harry Toffolo, we may need to look to add more depth at that position at some point. For now though, Callum Chambers will fill in at right back. Jacob Sorensen will provide cover at left back. The departures of both Christian Fasnacht and Ernil Hernandez were not particularly deep at the wing position either. Rowe and Sainz will start, Ballo will play on the bench, and we are going to keep hold of Abu Kamara, who can play right and left midfield. The 21-year-old is in the last year of his contract, so he'll be playing for a new one this season. And with one final departure as George Long leaves for Millwall, we are ready for Season 2 with 7 million left in the bank. That is, of course, for all expenses this year. Coaches, youth scouts, youth academy prospects, not just transfers. So with all that being said, we are finally ready to kick off here in Season 2. We have 4 games to get to in today's episode, starting out with our home opener against Bournemouth. That'll be our featured game of today's episode. You'll also see highlights of our trip to Molineux to take on Wolves, and our game against Brentford at Carrow Road, and we will be simulating our Carabao Cup game against Bristol City. So we had a dominant season last year in the Championship, but it's going to be a much tougher test week after week here in Season 2. I think we're getting off to as easy a start as it's probably possible to get off to, with Bournemouth as our first opponents, Wolves, Brentford to follow up. But even against those lesser teams in the Premiership, we're still going to be comfortably the underdogs, because when we take a look at Bournemouth's team, they have the likes of Mark Cucurella, who they have signed from Chelsea. They have Sinistera and Adams that they've signed from Leeds. Eddie Nketiah leads the line for Bournemouth today as well. And of course, Max Aarons will face his old club returning to Carrow Road. As for Johannes Thorup's side, we will see the first foray into the 4-4-2 experiment. So both new captain Josh Sargent and Armando Broja will lead the line for us today. Johnny Rowe and Borja Sainz get the start in those wide positions, whilst Lewis O'Brien partners Marcelino Nunez in the centre of midfield. Going to be another full debut at the back for Patrick Pfeiffer alongside Wesley Hoyt, who gets the nod ahead of Shane Duffy and Callum Chambers after impressing last year. Marius Wolf and Harry Toffolo will play at fullback. Jason Steele maintains the #1 shirt in goal. So without further ado, let's head over to Carrow Road and see if we can carry the momentum that we built last season, particularly towards the end of last season, here into Season 2 and get our Premier League campaign started with 3 points. So we are up in the commentary box at Carrow Road for a brand new season. Season 1 in the Premier League. It took us just one season to get promoted to the Premier League. And I was, of course, not anticipating necessarily, but hoping that that would be the case. I thought we might have to do it via the playoffs, though. As Johnny Rowe tries to find Marius Wolf early. And already we are potentially seeing the disadvantages of playing this new, slightly more aggressive 4-4-2 formation. We do still have the likes of Marius Wolf and Harry Toffolo on the overlap, set to get forward and join the attack, as Marius Wolf is doing so again here. Just tried to lay it in behind for Armando Broja to chase, but his run was cut off immediately by a Bournemouth defender. So we are trying a slightly new system. It's not too dissimilar from the 4-4-2 that we employed last season at various times in the Championship, as Eddie Nketiah loses out to Patrick Pfeiffer, who makes an early impression on the Norwich City fans here at Carrow Road. So the system isn't too dissimilar from the system we played last year when we did employ the 4-4-2. It is slightly more defensive. We are going to sit back a little more and allow teams to come onto us and then hopefully break and beat them on the counter-attack. However, I have kept the... Good save, Jason Steele. Good save, Jason Steele. Bournemouth committing bodies into the box. And I believe it is the man about to take the corner that forced that save from Jason Steele. But we have kept our tactical vision as tiki-taka, which it was last season, because we've made such an investment in our coaching staff that we really need to make a true decision about whether we want to change our approach to something like kick and rush or counter-attack, because that would take a complete reshuffle of our coaching staff. That would mean letting go of a number of coaches. That would mean hiring a bunch of new ones, waiting for kick and rush or counter-attack staff to become available. Lewis O'Brien finds Harry Toffolo. Borja Sainz on the left-hand side. So maybe let me know in the comments below. Should we change our tactical vision? Should we employ new coaches? Should we have a reshuffle in the back room? Armando Broja taken down beautifully on his chest. Johnny Rowe tries to find Marcelino Nunez but can't quite. I would be more than happy to do so. I'd be more than happy to switch to a kick and rush tactical vision. I'm not 100% sure that we need to, but I would defer to you guys in the comments with regards to that particular point. It's been a fairly even start here at Carrow Road, though, through the first 15 minutes or so, as Max Aarons finds a route in behind. Harry Toffolo trying desperately to get back in it, and it's another good save by Jason Steele, this time managing to hold on. But we are already seeing we are going to be exposed in behind when we commit players forward. Borja Sainz in space on that left-hand side. Johnny Rowe can't find him. And one of the things I was looking for when I was looking for new players, particularly in centre midfield, was the work rates. Lewis O'Brien has high attacking and high defensive work rates, and he has 91 stamina. And that's going to be absolutely essential in this particular system, because a number of our players are going to be up and down the pitch. Our wingers, our fullbacks, our centre midfielders. Poor ball into the box from Johnny Rowe. That should have been better. With a more quality delivery there, Broja could have caused some real issues for Bournemouth. Nicely worked though, and Johnny Rowe has a chance to put a bit more quality into this delivery. But again, he fails to find a Norwich City shirt. Johnny Rowe up against Mark Cucurella, who wins out this time. A 33 million signing from Chelsea we saw just moments ago. So Bournemouth splashing the cash this year in an attempt to stay up in the Premier League once more. Leeds, of course, are joining us in the Premier League this year. They finished second. after we picked them to the league title. And it's going to be Burnley to compete in the Premier League this year as well. They won the playoffs in the end. Josh Sargent, really good feet. Shooting opportunity, narrowly wide. Very narrowly wide as well, I think. Excellent play by Josh Sargent, our new captain, wearing the captain's armband for the first time today. And he really tested the Bournemouth goalkeeper there, had him scrambling. 22 minutes into the game, I think we've looked the brighter side. I've got incredibly high hopes for our attacking partnership this season. Sargent had a decent campaign last time Norwich were in the Premier League. I think he scored 10 goals. So a double-digit campaign in terms of goals is not bad at all. And I think Broha is going to be an excellent complement. We could have gone with a slightly different style of striker. Somebody like an Eddie Nketiah. A smaller, more mobile, really good feet. Borja sights this time, and he cuts inside with a shooting opportunity. He gets his shot away and on target, which is something Sargent couldn't manage to do moments ago. Really good challenge, Lewis O'Brien. That is exactly what we brought him in the side to do. Just disrupt, just delay the counter-attack and allow our players to get back into our defensive shape, into our two banks of four. Really good football. We are playing very, very well. Josh Sargent collects, finds Johnny Rowe. Not the best ball. Marius Wolf can deliver. And I think Marius Wolf was incredible last season with just one target to aim for in Josh Sargent. Imagine how many assists he's going to get this season with both Sargent and Broha to aim for, and Sainz coming in at the back post. I believe 12 assists Marius Wolf finished with. Marius Wolf caught out of position now though, and Cucurella cuts inside. Marcelino Nunez back, shepherding him towards the centre of the field, and it's a good challenge in the end, and Johnny Rowe could be away if he can reach the ball, which he can. Johnny Rowe has pace. Cucurella unfortunately also does. Broha, good run. Poor ball. Really poor ball, Johnny Rowe. That's, what, 2-3 occasions now he's had an opportunity to put the cross in, and he's failed to find a Norwich City shirt on each of those occasions. I'm really still caught in a dilemma about what to do with Johnny Rowe this season. He is in the last year of his deal, so we are going to have to make a decision at some point relatively soon as well, because Rowe is only 21 here in the game as well, I believe, so could be subject to a Bosman transfer soon. So we're going to have to decide, are we giving him a new contract or are we letting him go? I'm not sure we can make that decision before January. Good save again, Jason Steele. Low and away to his left at the near post. Couple of decent stops. We brought in Jason Steele with the intention of him just being a kind of band-aid option after Angus Gunn departed last season. I thought Steele would see us through the second half of the championship season, or the full championship season. We sold Gunn in the summer, actually, didn't we? So I thought Jason Steele would see us through one championship season and then take a backup role. But he played so well last season, and we've had so little money to spend this summer, that I think I'm more than comfortable with him starting in goal here in the Premiership. I was expecting to have a little more than 17 million as Sargent finds Borja Sainz. I didn't anticipate we would have, you know, a bottomless pit of money by any means, but I thought we'd have a bit more than 17 million because of the amount of prize money we were awarded for making it up to the Premiership and for winning the league, no less. However, we made a bit of a mistake when we first set up the core DNA skill tree. Also, Brian, not really what we're going to be asking him to do in this particular system. We made a bit of a mistake by investing in the wrong ownership trait. So there were 2 traits that we could have chosen from. One of which gave us 5% of our merchandising back. One of which gave us 5% of our prize money back. And we went with merchandising. And obviously we made far more in prize money last year than we did from shirt sales and the like. That's another atrocious ball from Johnny Rowe. Maybe this transfer speculation, contract controversy is getting in his head a little bit, because he has been really off it, Johnny Rowe. Marcelino Nunez strikes from range, parried away by Mark Travers. Decent enough strike from Nunez. As the referee's half-time whistle goes, he just needed to put his head down and make sure that strike was on target, which it was. But it's a relatively comfortable save in the end. But it's been a fairly even game here in the first half, and this is why I'm not so sure that we need to change that tactical vision from tiki-taka to kick and rush. We are defending well, but we are also getting bodies forward, and it's not taking us a great deal of time to do that, even on tiki-taka with the short passing. Marius Wolf, Harry Toffolo are overlapping. We are, you know, we're quick on the counter-attack. We're not hanging about. Thank you for checking out this episode of our realistic Norwich City career mode. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're approaching the end of the FC24 cycle now, but there'll be plenty more content to come with the release of FC25, including 12th man memberships. If you want to get more involved with the channel, check out the membership tiers on my homepage. Memberships start at less than £2 per month and come with a whole host of benefits and rewards, including you being able to feature in my career mode saves. We'll be starting a road to glory with a created club as soon as FC25 drops. So if you want to be included in the save or even feature in our starting 11, become a 12th man member of the channel today. 12th man members also get exclusive early access to all of my videos, not only my career mode series, but also my realistic slider sets and everything else in between. If you want more information about exactly what each tier involves, be sure to check out this video on my homepage. If memberships aren't for you, you can also join the public area of my Discord server, or just keep watching and enjoying the content for free right here on YouTube. As always, I appreciate all of your encouragement and support. Now, let's get back to the video. And there won't be any changes as we come out for the second half. Same 11 for each team. Johnny Rowe may make way for Tiano Ballo before too long, though, because Johnny Rowe has been less than impressive. Really good feet from Marcelino Nunez. Just took 2 Bournemouth players completely out of the game. And Johnny Rowe can cut inside. And once more, onto his left foot now. He beat 2 men. He can't beat a third. Bournemouth fortunately give up possession easily, though. And Borja Sainz finds Josh Sargent in the box. Unfortunately, his header is a tame one. It's a much better delivery from the left-hand side than we've been getting from the right, though, as Wesley Hoyt wins the header. He's another player who was surprisingly good last season. Another player we anticipated. Broha, straight at the keeper. And wide. Good save from Travers from point-blank range. Did really well just to get something on it. And to turn it around the post from such a narrow angle. And the home fans making their voices heard as Nunez delivers the corner. Sargent with an overhead kick. Unbelievable effort from Josh Sargent. Unfortunately, straight at the goalkeeper. You can't really do anything but get it on target in that kind of situation. Wolf pulls it back to Sargent. Pulls it back to Nunez, but cut out by Bournemouth. And Bournemouth will come away on the counter-attack. Lewis O'Brien again doing well to disrupt that. But Wesley Hoyt as I was saying, like Jason Steele, was a player that I just brought in January with the intention of him just being kind of a band-aid option for half a season. But he played so well that he's been given the start ahead of the likes of Shane Duffy and Callum Chambers. Jose Cordoba as well. We can't forget about Jose Cordoba. We haven't mentioned him in the video yet. But he is certainly a player that we will be looking to develop this season. He is one of our younger centre-backs. He and Patrick Pfeiffer at just 24 years of age. Duffy, Chambers, Hoyt, of course, all a little bit on the older side. So Cordoba, maybe one of the defenders that are vying for a long-term spot here in the side. Hugh Hunt, of course, the Youth Academy prospect that we promoted last season. The same can be said as well. What a challenge. That is exactly why Wesley Hoyt has got the start today. It looked as though Eddie Nketiah had the goal at his mercy and he was going to be able to open the scoring for Bournemouth. And in steps Wesley Hoyt. What a challenge. Got it exactly right. If he got it even slightly wrong, Nketiah no doubt would have gone down like a sack of spuds. And undoubtedly the referee would have given the penalty. Well in, Johnny Rowe steals it away from Cucurella. Really good feet, really good pace to get away from the Bournemouth defenders. And he's just crowded out. That is maybe a situation where we did see players failing to get forward quickly enough, where they may have got forward quicker with a kick and rush play style. Borja Sainz, Lewis O'Brien, Pfeiffer finds Hoyt. Two on this left-hand side, one of whom is Borja Sainz. The other is Harry Toffolo. Borja Sainz cuts inside. And there's just nothing on. There's just nothing on, and it's a good challenge from the Bournemouth defender. And again, we're going to have to get players back. Cucurella finds his man. Cucurella once more. Nicely worked between Cucurella and Sinistera. But it's a good challenge in the end from Marius Wolf, who keeps it in play and puts it out himself. So Johnny Rowe will make way before Bournemouth take the throw-in. Tiano Ballo comes on to replace him. He really came along the second half of last season. And we have swapped Tiano Ballo's position for this season. So he will be playing right midfield for us. Ballo will still be the primary option if we do go back to the 4-2-3-1 formation at any point. He will play that number 10 role. But he's going to be more of a true wide man this season. We did play him in wide positions last year. Really good run, Sargent. Not quite. We did play him in wide positions last year, and he was more than capable. He looked very good at times. And so he replaces Johnny Rowe for the final half an hour or so of the game. And Ballo is on the ball now. Bournemouth with all 11 in their own half back to defend. So we just have to work the ball backwards ourselves. Lewis O'Brien finds Marius Wolf. And Wolf can't find Nunez. Getting a little bit disjointed here in the final 20-25 minutes or so. It's been a decent enough performance so far. We could grab a goal and secure all 3 points. I think this would be a more than adequate performance for our first Premier League game. Marius Wolf with a good run, but Cucurella beats him to it. It's going to be a Norwich City throw as Bournemouth make their first change of the game. And it's going to be Thuram to come on. Some really interesting signings for Bournemouth this summer. Tiano Ballo to the feet of Nunez, who's just crowded out by two Bournemouth midfielders. Josh Sargent applying the pressure, though. And we have a man down in Bournemouth's final third, and I believe it's Marcelino Nunez. So not a good sign. We are very much going to be relying on Nunez this season. Well worked. Hits the stanchion. Eddie Nketiah just wide. Best chance of the game for Bournemouth probably is from the edge of the box. But Nketiah was all alone. He had time, he had space. Should have at least got that on target. We are going to be relying heavily on Nunez. Well, part of the reason, poor from Sainz, part of the reason that we did bring in Lewis O'Brien was because he would be an ideal partner for Nunez, who also has very good stamina. He is a box-to-box player, or at least he can play that kind of role. And the two of them are going to get through a lot of work on a weekly basis. Kenny McLean, I mean, he is a box-to-box player, but he doesn't have the same kind of stamina and work rate in-game that the likes of Nunez and O'Brien do. Marius Wolf finds Nunez. Sargent, Broja with a good run, brings it down. Can't quite get the shot away. And what is this? I think it's a Bournemouth free kick. So as we approach the last 10 minutes of the game, I would say we had the better of the first half. I would say Bournemouth have had the better of the second so far, though. The Eddie Nketiah chance has been the clearest opportunity of the game so far, I would say. Toffolo beaten. Aaron's on the overlap. Hoyt comes across to stop the cross. Does exactly that. More good defending from Wesley Hoyt. Outnumbered eventually, though. And it's another good save from Jason Steele. Thuram this time failing to finish. As Bournemouth look like they're going to be pressing for a winner here late in the game. We won't back off. We will do the same. Thuram once more. Good challenge, Broja. I pressed A to tackle. I tackled. Why are you passing? The A was for the tackle, which you performed. I didn't press A twice. Was that a Wolves goal? Late on. 1-0 up against Manchester United, I think I saw in the top right-hand corner there. Bournemouth lay the free kick off short. Interesting approach from that particular position. They do work it into the box, though. Pfeiffer comes across to deal with Thuram. Got to be careful there not to give away a penalty. Cucurella once more. He's been bright on the left-hand side for Bournemouth. And this is well worked on the edge of the box. Blocked by Wesley Hoyt. Into the path of Josh Sargent. Really poor challenge. Tiano Ballo away on the right-hand side. He's going to be offside. And he is. We should get the free kick, though. I believe. Tyler Adams gets a booking. And is it going to be our free kick or Bournemouth? Did the advantage last long enough? There's the challenge again, and it is a poor one. It's a Bournemouth free kick. I tried to get some substitutions in there, but I didn't quite get them in time. So Bournemouth will take the free kick as we enter the last 5 minutes of the game. I would be happy enough with a point here. I would be slightly disappointed not to take all three, but I think on the balance of play, a point is probably fair. Bournemouth could be looking to take all three, though. And I think we'll just drop into our ultra-defensive game plan for the last 5 minutes or so. Broja, Sainz, Nunez all to come off. Chambers, McLean, Gibbs to come on to replace them. So some defensive substitutions from Johannes Thorup. As Bournemouth take a short corner. Good block at the near post from Kenny McLean. I think Wesley Hoyt was there as well. And Marius Wolf. Three players getting themselves in the way of that. But I think probably, if anything, we're going to be lucky to hang on to a point here. We looked good in the first half. We just haven't had the same second period. Eddie Nketiah. Good block. Patrick Pfeiffer this time. And Bournemouth are piling it on in these last 5 minutes or so. So I think we have to just be happy with a point if we can get it. What a save. Jason Steele punched away eventually as well. Josh Sargent puts in the challenge and can bring the ball away on this left-hand side. Potentially one last opportunity to create something here. Max Aarons is knackered. And Josh Sargent, there's not too much on for him. Lewis O'Brien, though, on the edge of the box. Just finds Kenny McLean. And we will just have to go backwards into 4 minutes of stoppage time. Maybe there's one final opportunity that we can create. We'll look to do that with Marius Wolff and Tiano Ballo, who is offside. It's been a poor second half, let's be honest. Let's just get out of here with a point. Something to put on the board at least. After our first game in the Premier League. Josh Sargent, can he bring that down? Not quite. Hooked clear by Bournemouth. Harry Toffolo wins the header, though. Lewis O'Brien loses out to Max Aarons. It is going to be a Norwich City throw. And O'Brien finds Toffolo, who finds O'Brien once more. Josh Sargent in the box with a chance to win it, and does! 20 seconds into the 5th minute of 4 in injury time. And Josh Sargent puts the ball in the back of the net. Our new captain. Captain America, Captain Fantastic. So many plaudits from last season after an incredible championship campaign. And he is getting the business done in the Premier League. At the death. What a finish. Squeezes it in at the near post past Mark Travers. And Josh Sargent's Premier League account is open once more. And that must be the last action of the game. I fully anticipate the referee blowing the whistle as soon as Bournemouth take the kick. And he does. And we do have a win in our opening game of the Premier League season. Johannes Thorup is dressed for the occasion. And it looked for long periods in that second half as if we weren't going to come away with the victory. And I was resigned to just taking a point away from Carrow Road. But Josh Sargent had other ideas. So is that not exactly what you asked for? Sean Dyche / Marcelo Bielsa. We defended well. We protected our penalty area. We were good in the Bournemouth box when we got our opportunities as well. We flooded forward on the counter-attack when opportunities presented themselves. And we nicked a goal at the death to come away with all 3 points. And you would think after that late dramatic winner, nothing could dampen our spirits, but unfortunately Marcelino Nunez did break his toe. He's going to be out for 3 months. So 21-year-old Liam Gibbs is going to have to step up into a more prominent role in the first team. But we are going to have to bring in some additional cover as well, not at centre midfield, but instead Ryan Fredericks arrives on a free from Bournemouth. The experienced right back will be able to provide a bit more cover in those fullback positions, freeing up Jacob Sorensen to do the same in centre midfield. So Gibbs will get the start alongside Lewis O'Brien for our second game here against Wolves at Molineux. Tiano Ballo also comes in at right midfield ahead of Johnny Rowe, but other than that the 11 remains unchanged from Bournemouth. We employed the same game plan against Wolves that we did against Bournemouth to pretty much the same effect. Armando Broja getting his first goal for Norwich City about 13 minutes into the game after Josh Sargent picked him out. Sargent was in fine form, creating opportunities rather than taking them himself. He laid it back to Tiano Ballo on the edge of the box this time, but it was a fingertip save from the Wolves goalkeeper that prevented the game from becoming 2-0. Jason Steele was called on a number of occasions as well. Matheus Cunha, who made a name for himself in an Everton shirt in our Takeover Rebuild series earlier in the year, forcing a good save this time. Wolves did start to grow into the game in the first half. Pedro Neto pulling the strings. Some really nice passing moves from Wolves, creating some fairly clear-cut opportunities. Whilst their build-up play was excellent, however, their finishing was not. Pedro Neto himself this time failing to tuck the ball into the far corner. Jason Steele again able to parry away. And like we did against Bournemouth, we hit Wolves on the counter-attack every opportunity that we got. And Marius Wolff and Josh Sargent, that link-up that was so productive for us last season, came into play again about the half-an-hour mark. Sargent tucking the ball past the Wolves goalkeeper first time. So it looked like we would go into the break with a comfortable 2-0 lead, but Matheus Cunha did manage to grab a goal back for Wolves just before the break. It was a really tidy finish this time. tucked into the far corner just inside the post. And from there, it would be all Wolves. They absolutely dominated the game in the second half. Jason Steele was called into action on a number of occasions just to keep us ahead. And thankfully, he did exactly that. It was a great performance from our number one. And it did allow us to grab a second straight victory to begin the Premier League campaign. So an absolutely dream start for Johannes Thorup and his squad. And with the Carabao Cup game against Bristol City next up, we have a bit of a chance to breathe and compose ourselves ahead of our final Premier League game of the episode. So debuts today for Marcel Lotka in goal, for Ryan Fredericks at right back, and for Abu Kamara playing right wing. And we just about managed to squeak through 8-7 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in regular time. Bell scored for Bristol City. Kamara opened the scoring 10 minutes into the game for us. Kamara missed his penalty late on though. Fortunately, Ballo, Chambers, Duffy, Sorensen picked up the slack. Wagner eventually missed for Bristol. And although Brentford sit in 19th position in the table, just a place below Arsenal, each team on 0 points, I think they will prove our toughest test of the episode. They're a well-organised side and they've added James Tarkowski and Tammy Abraham amongst others to their starting lineup. Our starting lineup, however, will remain the same as in the Wolves game, with one exception. Johnny Rowe comes back in on the right-hand side in place of Tiano Ballo. We thought Brentford would be a tough test and we were proved right immediately. Kevin Schade finding a bit of space in the penalty area just 3 minutes into the game. Jason Steele quick off his line though to make the save. Based on our performances in our first 2 games, Brentford surely would have thought that we would be a tough test as well, and we did manage to put the ball in the back of the net just 5 minutes into the game. Johnny Rowe's shot initially saved by the Brentford goalkeeper. Armando Broja put in the rebound, but unfortunately he was ruled out for offside. The next time we put the ball in the back of the net though, the goal would stand. Johnny Rowe, much better delivery this time than what we saw in the Bournemouth game. He found Josh Sargent in the box, and of course there's going to be no other outcome than that. Rowe picked out Sargent for a second time just moments later, and it looked as though Sargent was going to double his tally for the game and double our lead. Unfortunately, the header this time was put wide. Brentford continue to have their opportunities in the first half though, like Wolves, playing some really nice, quick, intricate passing moves, but their finishing just wasn't on point. And with the scoreline at just 1-0, the next goal was always going to be important, and it was Armando Broja who grabbed that goal for us to make it 2-0. It was played in behind. Brentford had committed bodies forward. Broja exploited that, and although Brentford pressed, forcing a number of good saves from Jason Steele, they just couldn't find a way back into the game. So don't ask me how it happened, but somehow we managed to win all 3 of our Premier League games to start the season. As we said earlier in the episode, we do have some pretty easy opposition to start our first Premier League campaign. Bournemouth, Wolves, Brentford, not exactly world beaters, and you would imagine they'll be down towards the bottom of the table, fighting to stave off relegation. And indeed, that is exactly where Brentford and Bournemouth are. To be honest, it was where I expected us to be at this stage of the season. Instead, we are top of the league. 3 wins out of 3. Leeds are up there as well, with a chance to pip us at top spot if they win their game in hand. Wolves did beat Manchester United in the first game of the season. They are up in second. But there is, of course, still a huge amount of football left to play. And as we get into the month of September and start facing opponents like Brighton, Liverpool, Newcastle, I'm sure we're going to be on the end of a couple of unfavourable results. But for now, we will just celebrate those victories and we will take on those more difficult opponents in the next episode. I hope to see you there. Take it easy.